Um, you guys don't worry, we can start in here in the next couple of minutes. We'll wait for more people to trickle in into the main room. We'll begin start here shortly. Anyone just joining the live stream, we'll be getting started here shortly in a few more minutes. Just waiting for some more people to come into the in-person event. We'll be getting started shortly. Thank you all. Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard, and linear. Linear. Yeah, it's mine. Wait a minute. All right, everyone. Hello. My name is Jacob Allerbrock. I am ACM's technical officer. I'm here to bring y'all intro to tech for React. So I guess before we get started, some announcements that ACM is offering. This next Wednesday, we have our officer elections for certain roles. We did go through a constitutional rewrite, so we do have some officer positions that aren't available for y'all to be running for, but we do have some other positions, some new, some opening up. We do have a lot of vacant spots, so we do encourage y'all to check out the announcement page on our ACM Discord to learn more about those. Again, this will be happening this next Wednesday from 3 to 4 at 3 p.m. What room? I think we booked the Rotama. We do encourage y'all to come to that because again to help us determine the future of ACM. If y'all haven't started yet, you can go to this event log channel in the ACM Discord to get some prerequisites as I talk a little more about React. You can follow these steps to get these software, or you can go to this last link, this codesandbox.io, to basically get an online editor version of this what we're working on. It's just VS Code online. If y'all too scared to download some of this stuff, which I don't blame y'all. Yeah. So I'll do this. Wait a minute. All right, so getting started with React. So before we start, here's the check-in QR code, get y'all membership points. If y'all get seven membership points, y'all be invited to our ACM banquet, which is happening very soon. So encourage y'all to get these membership points in. We do have a whole bunch of stuff at this banquet, like free food, be feeding y'all, get to network with a lot of ACM people, officers, meet the community, and a whole bunch of sponsors as well. And the annual shirt, free stuff. All right, we seem to be good with that. So just to start the creation process, this is going to take a minute. So I'm going to go through this process first, and then I'll talk a little more about what React is, and then all this basics. So these are the 3 commands you want to be running, and I will be actually running it through with y'all. Actually, before I get started, sorry, I gotta show you what we're building. We'll be building a tic-tac-toe game. Kind of small, but so this is an example where we're building with React. You get to play tic-tac-toe with yourself or friends. These buttons will appear on the side showing your history. We'll be able to determine a winner, and you'll also use these buttons to go back into like your move's history, and you can play a different spot from this history as well in order to reload everything. This is an example of what we'll be building. So to get started, I have VS Code open right now. If y'all have the sandbox open, this should have already created a project for you. But anyone using VS Code right now, you can just go to a random folder, preferably on your desktop. And then with this, I probably should have made a new folder. A new folder. Create one on your desktop. Let's name React project, and go and open this folder in VS Code. And then with this open, we're gonna want to come up top. Okay? We're gonna come here to the terminal and hit New Terminal. So this is gonna open up a makeshift terminal down at the bottom of our screen, and we want to be running some commands in here. Basically, what we've installed with previously this thing called Node.js. Node.js allows us to easily create like a template for websites and quickly spin them up into servers. It just makes everything a lot easier for us to use. We used NVM Node Version Manager to manage different Node projects, or sorry, Node versions. Some projects will only work with certain versions, so it's important for everyone working on a project to have the same Node version. This allows us to get easily passed between projects between people. Now on top of that, we have NPM, Node Package Manager. This allows us to manage our project's dependencies, or essentially packages. For example, our project will depend on React. Without React, our project won't run. You can learn about other packages with a Google search, and we will see some common installation methods, or you will see the common installation method is with NPM. So to get back to this terminal, we need to create a basic React project. This command is npx, and then create -react-app, and then the name of your project. We're gonna name it tic-tac-toe. So for this to create a npx project, we do have to follow URL safe characters, and there can't be any capitals. So all lowercase and then URL friendly characters. Then we go ahead and enter, and then this will start creating our project for us. This will create a basic React template that allows us to essentially the main components of React allows us to easily edit it. So since this command is going to take a decent time, we can I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit more about what React is. So React is a component-based library created by Facebook to give us the ability to create websites significantly easier, specifically aiming for interactivity. We will see examples of what components are and how they're easy to reuse, as well as managing interactivity. React is open source, and there is a very large supportive community behind it, with people creating packages and libraries to enhance the React experience. If you've coded in HTML before, you know that it's unlike any other programming language you've ever used. This is because it's a markup language, not a logical language. With React, you are able to create what is called JSX, or JavaScript XML. XML is another type of markup language. JSX allows you to combine the logic of JavaScript and a normal programming language, or sorry, JavaScript, which is a normal programming language, with the building blocks of a markup language to essentially write websites in JavaScript. This makes life significantly easier when trying to create websites. So does anyone have any questions so far about what we're doing, what React is? Yeah. That does say npx. There's a screen over there as well that's showing the same thing. It can't be a file type. It's just like a format of JavaScript. It's you can code in JavaScript. It gets rendered the same. Not yet. There's not this yet, but there will be. We'll be coding JSX once this project is created. No, and I've heard about it before. Is anybody new to HTML and CSS at all? Okay, so then we'll be going over some basic HTML stuff as well. I've tried to include the basics, and I'll explain almost like every type that we're going through. You had your hand up, Jonathan? There are online tools that allow you to easily convert basic HTML to JSX, and it will basically create all the formatting for you. There's some minor tweaks, but it's essentially HTML with some minor changes to convert it to JavaScript. There are online tools that can do that for you. Just copy and paste them for them together. Yeah. So, what exactly is React? I'm not enough reading the web development and know like how it revolutionized it. So what is React essentially components everything that you create, or you can create like certain components, And the special part about this is it can tell the DOM like what to re-render, which increases like your performance. Sometimes you may not want to re-render something that you maybe not changing, but um, it allows the DOM to select what is to change, what to listen for to be changed. Essentially gives us tools to be able to quickly change and increase our performance for React. Is there anything I'm missing, Josh? Yeah. Okay, so while this is finishing up, I'm actually going to skip ahead to talk about some of the files that will be created. One of them is actually already created right now. It's called package.json. This package.json file allows us to store all the dependencies that are used in our project. So for example, if we were to pass this project into someone else's computer who may not have all the dependencies installed, they are able to run a command called npm install. This command will basically go through the entire package.json file and install all the dependencies for you. This allows basically everyone to get the same version of dependencies and essentially allows people to easily work with each other on these projects. I guess we'll wait more for this to finish up. I don't need to take this long. Anyone have any other questions about what do you call this? React? Oh no, this is for yes. I actually don't know much about Angular. Um, yeah, I actually have no clue. I've just only been focusing on React recently. Sorry. I might just switch to sandbox if this might take this long. should I switch the sandbox because it's taking a little longer than I thought it would? Alright, y'all. So, we're actually switch the sandbox. It's taking, why is it? Oh, it's taking a little longer than I thought it would. Alright, so, some example example of some of the files that were created are index.js. This is essentially like the root of our project. This is where all of our HTML starts rendering. Whenever we load up a web page, they're gonna load up index.js first. So we can see here that we have our imports that you've seen from other languages, and then this similar thing app. We can see over here this app.js is the same from this file path. So in React, you can import other files into your files on other projects. And if we look at app, this is the main folder that we're changing. So if you can see if we edit any of this stuff, we can see it change. That's awesome. Alright, sorry y'all. Sorry, I'll get this fixed. My computer's crashing. Sorry? On VS Code? Yeah, you can do npm and start. I apologize about this, y'all. My computer is usually not this slow. Awesome. Yeah, for those of y'all that have created the project in VS Code, you will see once your project is finished created, they will be given two commands: a cd into the directory, and then npm start to actually spin up a server. And this will update in real time whenever you edit it. Here we go. So to spawn up another instance of this, essentially what this is creating is this is the start of our React project. If you want to replace everything in app.js with this line, and then we'll jump to the CSS real quick. Yeah. Yes. Delete everything in app.js, and we'll add this. And then while you're adding this, I'll talk about what these lines do. So export default function square. This essentially gives us a function, the keyword function, the name of our function square. Export default. Export allows us to access this this function publicly or any file, and default makes this like its main function. So if we were to import this file from app, example in index.js, this function will get run first. And then what we return basic HTML. This is the joy of JSX. It allows you to return HTML markup. In this example, we are giving it a button with a class name square, and then inside of it the text X. This allows us to choose what displays inside the button. If we were to change this to Z, it will get updated to Z. Yes. Because in our index.js, this is where it gets called. So when we do the import app, remember this is where all of our React projects start. So when we import app from the file app, we render it with this HTML tag, because every function that's created, it becomes its own component. So you can call it like any other component would. Just to know which is a React component, it starts with a capital letter. For instance, this one starts with a capital A for app. Yeah, you can. If you change index.js and you just add more apps, it would create more squares. Yes, but we'll get there in a second. And then I will actually send this CSS file in the event log channel to save us some time, because I wasn't going to type it, but we are running short on time now. So the CSS is going to be in the event log under this event. If y'all want to go to the Discord and pull that file and copy everything into other styles. And after all that, you will see that you have this similar box right here. So a simple box with an X in it, with some margin and padding. Sorry. I sent it in the Discord. Here, I can actually show you all. So under the event log, this event, this React Intro to Tech, here's the CSS file. You can copy all of this and then move it into the styles.css. Oh yeah, sorry. If you are in VS Code, it would be in index.css. So now to actually trying to get started with the React part. So first of all, we see that this return statement is returning HTML. We are going to need more squares, so I guess we can start with duplicating this line. So say for example like this. So now we have 2, but now we're getting an error. So What this is saying is we can only return one HTML element. React components are built from one element, so to fix this, we can wrap this in what's called a fragment, or you can use a div if you want as well. So to do this, we want to add inside parentheses, because this allows us to specify multiple line returns. We wrap this in a fragment, or essentially an empty HTML tag. Make it look nice, and then we close it with the closing fragment. You see here now we have two boxes. So now after this, all we have to do is just add 9 more of them. And then 9 boxes will be rendered. But the issue we're having is these are in one row. We want to make them into a grid. So we can easily do this with some CSS and some grouping. So what we can use is what's called a div, which allows us to basically create groups and containerize some of these elements. A div is essentially just a basic grouping. It's like another empty element. We can add them like this. So this will basically create a different segment. And while we're at this, let's go ahead and change some of these so we can identify which box is which. We'll be grouping them by 3. And then we can use some of our CSS classes that we recently imported. One called board-row, and add them to all these divs. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet, if y'all have coded in HTML before, y'all have used the term class, but in JavaScript, class is a keyword, so we can't use class without JavaScript thinking it's something else. So we have to use class name. And now it, because of CSS, it now changes it to a table. So now, what we can see right now is we have a whole bunch of repeating stuff. If y'all have done any coding before, y'all know that repeating things, redundancy is bad, and we want to actually componentize this. We can do this by changing each of these into its own component. So these aren't really squares anymore, so we're just going to rename this board. So now this whole thing is a board. And we can create a new component or a new function called a square. And the same way we did before, we can return a button with a class name square, and we'll just start with X again. And instead of all of these, we can now call this component just like this, like we would in normal components. And we can see now it's turned into a square because this code is getting replaced with this component. So square is a button with the class name square with an X in it. And this allows us to basically repeat all these components. So now we're back to a grid of squares. But let's say we want to add those numbers back for whatever reason, or we need to store this value somewhere. If you remember from other coding stuff, we pass in parameters to each other. What if we want to pass parameters to this function? Well, we can do this thing with we can pass these through this thing called properties, or short for props. React supports this thing called props. Since almost everything in JavaScript is an object, you have to use curly braces to basically destructure this object into the values you're looking for. So what props look like up here in square, to destructure this object, let's say we're looking for a value. Since it's a JavaScript, you can use any type. You don't have to specify types. And let's say that we want to accept value in here. But the issue we have now is now we have it printing a value in the box, but we want whatever is passed into this. So to be able to fix this, we need to basically what's called escaping into the JavaScript world and add in curly braces. This specifies specifically JavaScript, the logic behind JavaScript inside the HTML. We put value in here, now it's going to render whatever this variable is. And right now we have nothing right now because we haven't passed anything in. So to do this, all we do is type value equals, and then the number we want to put in. And you can see now we're rendering a square, passing in the prop value of 1. 1 is going into this function, it being destructured by this prop, and being passed into here. This entire thing gets replaced with 1. And then if you're using VS Code or the sandbox, you can hold Alt and click to allow multiple cursors and allow people to edit multiple at once. Just get to escape out of it, and then I'll just add all these numbers back. So this is how you pass by props. So now we have the ability to basically edit all these buttons and what's inside of them. So now let's add some interactivity. So buttons are able to have an on-click listener, which essentially listens for whenever they're clicked. You pass into this on-click, oh my gosh, a function. So what we first want inside this button is you're actually reorganize these tabs a little bit. Is a on-click. So we set this on-click equal to a function. We'll just call it a handle click for now. And because we're doing multiple lines, you have to use the parentheses. So right now it's saying handle click is not defined, so let's define it. So to do this, we just create another function, handle click. And let's just say let's log to the console. Changing maybe. Alright. Preview console. So now we can see the console might be the console. There we go. So now if we look to the console, or if you're in a browser, I believe you can right click and hit inspect, and then a window similar to this will pop up, and there'll be a console button, and you can basically click on the buttons and it'll say clicked in the console, because we have all these squares saying on click, listen for on clicks, and whenever it's clicked, run the function handle click, which logs the console clicked. This is how we add a basic interactivity. So now we are going to actually take a step back from all this coding stuff, and let's talk about how React renders everything. So React renders everything by components. It checks which components have been changed or are not loaded yet, and renders or re-renders them. This allows React to stay up to speed with vanilla HTML, because you can imagine how slow things get when a big library like React just tries to load everything. The issue with this is telling React when to re-render. In our example, we want to re-render this box to have a different value whenever something's clicked. But if we try and change that, for example, if we say we want to set value equal to something else, let's say x, for example, and we try and click on it, we can see it's not working. This is because React is stuck in a previous state. We want to reload its state. Yeah, essentially we want to reload this web page's state, or this individual square's state, by saying hey, we changed this this box with this onClick method. Let's re-render it. So to allow React to catch up to its current state, we want to use this built-in function called useState. This basically allows us to manage a state of a square and re-render it whenever we click on it. So let's go ahead and add it. So what we want to do first is we need to import useState. To do this, we do import useState at the top from, and then inside quotes, React. This allows us to basically use the function useState. And then let's just call the useState function. So what this function does is basically creates a state for us, but this returns an array of two things. So we do const to turn out constant, and it returns, it actually autocompletes for us, the value of the state, so what variable allows it is the state, and then a function to change the state. So we can have my notes. We need to say value and set value is equal to useState. So what this does is useState gives us a variable value to handle to show our state, and then if we ever want to change it, we call it with set value. And then we can pass into useState a variable that we want to default to. So in this case, we'll do null. And we're getting this error because we don't need the props anymore. And we can get rid of all these. Alright, so now we have, I forgot to change value. So instead of doing this value change, we can call this function that the useState has given us, and say let's set equal to x. And now when we click on these boxes, now the state is updated and the state is changed. So a quick recap of what we just did. We gave every square its own state. So now it's all managing its own state individually. Given it the value that the state's called, and then this function set value. Whenever we click on this button, we will run this function handle click, which runs this function set value, which changes our state. And since this is used through the useState from React, it basically tells React, hey, re-render this square, and now it registers that x is now in our boxes. So this is what's called a React hook. This is what makes React so powerful, is being able to manipulate all these React components and React hooks. You basically are hooking into what the user is inputting and managing. So one thing I do is basically manage the we want to check if the user either wins the game or not. To do this, we need to basically have another state manager. But the issue with this is we need the board to be able to recognize our state, which right now it can't because the state is inside the square. One way to do this is we could have the board ask which one of the squares is in this state, but this can be messy, prone to bugs, and make it really hard to scale. So a better way to do this would be to store the state in the squares of the parent. or other words, the board. This way, all the child components could communicate with each other within the parent, and each child component could be passed their respective state through props, similar to what we had before. What we can start with is, instead of having state in the square, we can instead have it in the board. And we'll name it squares. And the target is set squares. Have it equal to the states. And we want this to be an array of all the states of the squares. This we can do it's only for us. Array of 9, and we're going to fill it with no. This is a JavaScript method that allows us to create an array filled with null. This is as a default. So now to move everything around, we can add these props back. Then have all these squares have their elements in this array. Can't do that right. I don't have the quotes there. I should not be quotes, should be curly braces. My page is very slow. So what I was actually doing was passing in the string squares into the props, where instead you would be passing the actual value. So again, escaping into the JavaScript and pass in the value that's stored in the squares variable. And now, since they're empty right now, we have empty boxes because they're all null right now. So now we just need to fix what happens whenever square is clicked. Here's first. So we need to be able to have the square accept or know whenever to change the object. So what we can do is add in more props, or essentially pass in this function that we created, set squares. So what we can do is add into this props on square click. Pass in the function on square. Here we go. Yeah, right. Now it's not, but we can see it's not working and not an error. So that's fine. So what we're doing right now is we're in kind of called so we are trying to essentially re-render our page way too often. I'm calling this function the wrong way. There we go. So what this is trying to do right now is, yeah, see, we're getting too many renders. So this is a common error that we see in React projects. What's happening is, let's go with the code flow. So we're running at board. We're creating a state with an empty array. We're coming down here to square. We're gonna call this function set squares 0. So that's actually gonna call this function to basically saying, hey, I'm changing this page. Let's re-render it. So it's gonna render. So it's gonna start back over to this board. Create and then come over to the square. Set square. Hey, rerun the page again. And we're gonna keep running into this issue. Yes. Yes, I can. Right now? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I can just start now. So we are being stuck in this infinite loop trying to render this page. You may be curious on why it didn't have before whenever we had the handle click. This is because whenever we try to render the page, it would only render whenever we click on it. However, in this basically re-rendering the page every time we get to this square. So to fix this is what's called an arrow function. So an arrow function is a JavaScript thing. You basically do parentheses and then an arrow to wherever you want to call. And an arrow function that then gets called. We now call this function whenever we what do you call it? Click on the square. So we're gonna click on a square, it's called this function, and then it will put the square into the page. I will show you. Oh, my computer died. I had 100%.